guys, how's it going? Alright, today we're going to do a mod that I've been looking forward to for a little while. So as you can see here, I've got a row of Super Nintendos, and what I want to do is I want to create a universal Super Nintendo. I want to create a Nintendo that can run games from any region and doesn't need any switches, it just works. So straight away, this modification is going to exclude the Super Nintendo Junior, because there's a couple of chips on there that have been combined into one, and what we're going to do isn't going to work for this, so I'll get him out of the way. Now, with our PAL Super Nintendo, I've already shown you guys a mod where you can put some switches on the back and just make it so it'll run your Japanese or your PAL games, and it'll also run the American games as well, but the problem with them is they don't fit, and the solution to that, of course, is just to basically cut this out. But I quite like how the Super Nintendos look. I think they're quite a nice little machine, so I just couldn't really bring myself to sort of hack this up, so I'm going to pop him out of the way as well. So that's going to leave our American Super Nintendo, because this machine here is going to fit basically any of the cartridges. So if I've got an American game, and it'll go, and if I've got a New Zealand game, and it'll go. Same with the Japanese cartridges, they all fit, so it makes it an ideal candidate. Now, for this modification, you've got to be a little bit careful, because some of the later models, unfortunately, to save a bit of costing or whatever, they ended up putting a single chip in. So I'll show you where they are, but if it's got the same single chip as this, then that's the end of that, you're not going any further. Now, this Super Nintendo, just like the Sega Saturn mod we done, is PIC controlled, so it's all going to be controlled with holding a reset button. But the cool thing with this mod is you're actually not going to need that a lot. It's pretty much just going to be popping a cartridge and it goes, so it's a really awesome modification. Now, since I have this in front of you, I need to say a quick thank you to Thomas3120. These machines just did not come out in my country. The American ones anyway, and finding one here is really hard, so I got in touch with Thomas, and he helped me track this one down, and as you can see, it's just immaculate. He got me a beautiful model here, so Thomas, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And guys, if you haven't checked out his channel, and I'm sure you already have, but if you haven't, go there please. So right, so what I'll do is I'll get the cover off this, and I'll basically give you a bit of an overview of the mod. With any of the modifications I do, I like to perform it, make sure it's going to work, and then show you guys. But because I've only got the one of these machines, I pretty much had to do it, and now I'm just going to have to give you an overview because I don't have another one. So yeah, I'll get this thing pulled apart and we'll have a bit of a look. Alright guys, so looking at our motherboard here, I've removed the heat shielding, and you need to identify that you've got an SPPU2 and SPPU1 chip here on your motherboard. The later revisions in the Super Nintendo 2 or Super Nintendo Junior or whatever you know it as, they combine these into a single chip, so this mod isn't going to work for that. So what we need to do, and I've shown this in the switched Super Nintendo mod I did a little while ago, we need to lift pin 30 on SPPU2, and then on PPU1 we need to lift pin 24, and as you can see, I've already encased mine in hot glue just to protect it. Alright, and the next scary part is, if you thought lifting those legs was bad, you need to lift more legs. Basically, on your motherboard you'll have a chip that's marked U8, and that's what they refer to as the CIC chip. This is what handles the protection, or the copy protection, sorry, for the different cartridges. Now you've got a bit of an option as to what you're going to do here. You can either cut the chip completely out, as I have, or if you want, you can just lift some legs on it. It doesn't really make too much of a difference which one you do. It's probably just going to come down to what you're more comfortable with. So for me, what I've done is I've come along with the razor blade, and I've basically cut the legs off as close as I can to the chip, and then I've lifted that off, and then I've just come along with some solder braid and given it a quick clean up. But as you can see, what we're going to be doing is soldering replacement wires into the points. But of course, if you want to leave the chip in place, that's fine. What you're going to need to do is you're going to need to lift pins 1, 2, 10 and 11. And as you can see here, just like all these motherboards, pin 10's marked, pin 18's up the top. My wires are covering it, but you'll see it's actually marked, so it's not hard to find your way around as to which ones to lift. Okay, the other thing that you're going to need to do as well is basically take out your controller ports, and on the back of them you're going to need to dart along and desolder all of these pins here, which are actually holding the controller ports in. You can leave the connection block here, leave that attached. It just needs to be these. So desolder those, and then you'll actually find your way along. There's actually plastic clips that you can undo, and that'll pop this whole assembly apart. And if you use a 5mm red and green LED, basically what you can do is actually replace the factory one, and it'll just sit in there nicely. And in my case, what I've done is, as you can see, I haven't glued any of this yet, but I've just replaced the LED and then just beaten the wiring up and over. Alright, so if you've identified those two chips and you've figured out whether you're comfortable to play around with the CIC chip or the chip that's located at C8, then the next bit is going to be building a little circuit board. Now the construction of this is very similar to the Sega Saturn mod chip, so hopefully you've had a look at that. But basically, things you need to know is we just solder down a socket and then fit our CIC into it. We need two 220 ohm resistors, so they're for controlling the LED strength or how many volts are going to go through to them. We also need a 10k resistor. And just giving you, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put a bit of a circuit diagram up on my website. I haven't done that yet, but hopefully not too far behind this video you'll be able to find it there. And it'll just give you an idea on how to lay this board out. But pretty much you're just going to need a whole lot of wire just to go to your CIC chip and also off to your two PPU chips. We've got some wiring over here. I'm using blue and red and black. That's going to be ground and red and green for our LED, just up on this side here. Positive, negative, so it runs off the 5 volts. We get that from the voltage regulator to power this board. We've also got a 10k resistor here going from pin 13 to ground. And yeah, the rest is just wiring that comes out to go to various locations on our CIC. So this modification, I mean, it is a little bit time consuming. By the time you change the LED and you build your little board and you cut the chip off, I mean, you probably want to allow yourself a good couple of hours just to do it safely. It's not something you want to rush. And as you can see, I mean, I haven't gone through with my hot glue or cleaned any of this up yet, mostly because, you know, I wanted to show you guys, we'll give you guys a bit of an overview. And the other thing you need to do, of course, is inside the where the cartridges go in, you've got those two plastic tabs that you need to break out. I'll just grab the lid. Yeah, so inside our lid, in the back of it, you're going to find the two plastic tabs. I've already gone through and broken these out, but you'll need to basically cut those out or break them out, so that way your Japanese and your PAL cartridges can slot nicely in. Alright, so that's kind of a bit of an overview on what to do. Hopefully if you've watched enough of my videos you'll sort of be comfortable with soldering, or you would have had a bit of a go at it. This modification, as you can probably see, is a little bit involved. So with your Super Nintendo, look, if you're not comfortable cutting chips off and creating little circuit boards and that, then maybe this mod isn't for you. But if you've been dying to have a sort of go at something like this, it's definitely a good mod. So if you put in a bit of hard work, you'll get the rewards. So having said that, I'll show you how it works. Okay, so when the LED is orange, what it's going to do is if you put in well pretty much, okay, firstly any cartridge you put in is going to work, but if you put in a PAL game that runs at 50 Hz, the machine will run it in PAL at 50 Hz. Well, 50 Hz anyway. If you put in a NTSC American game or a Japanese game at 60 Hz, it'll run it at 60 Hz. So pretty much your orange is your automatic mode, and it's going to basically just whatever game you put in, it'll detect what it needs to run at and run it at that. So nice and straightforward. Now what you can do is we can switch it to red, and what that will do is if you put in a NTSC game, it'll run it at NTSC. If you put in a PAL game, it'll run it at 50 Hz for the first 9 seconds, so the game can get past any copy protection checks it has, and then it will automatically switch to NTSC or 60 Hz. So you don't need to press anything, it'll just do it on its own. And the green LED, when it's set to green mode, it'll work in the opposite way. So if you put in a PAL game, it'll stay at 50 Hz and just, you know, run as a PAL game does. But if you put in an NTSC game, after 9 seconds, it'll drop it back to 50 Hz. So I couldn't see many people using that, but it might be useful if you've got your Super Nintendo hooked up to an older TV that doesn't support 60 Hz or something like that, or NTSC. So what I'll do is I'll just show you how this all works basically. So turn that back off. Okay, so to show you what I mean, we've got the PAL version of, what's this, Batman Returns. So we'll pop that in, and our LED's on red mode. So if we go up and look at our screen here, and what you'll see straight away is that the machine can actually run it. It's a PAL game and it works, and you'll see any second now that's going to change to 60 Hz. There we go. So automatically on the red mode it'll take a PAL game and switch it over to NTSC. Okay, so as you can see, the game works perfectly, no problems at all. So, and with, if we have a, what have we got, a US cartridge, there'll be no change in that, it'll just keep running as NTSC, but as you can see it still works. Okay, fantastic. Just find a Super Famicom cartridge here. Yep, that's a Japanese game, isn't it? That'll work. Right, just turn the machine off. That out. And there we go. So you can see that the machine's universal. It'll run cartridges from any region. And if you don't like the automatic switching from 50 and 60 Hz, like I say, you can put it in orange mode where whatever the game's native resolution is what it will run it as. So if it's a PAL game, it'll stay PAL. If it's an NTSC game, it'll stay NTSC. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I say, you will need to set yourself aside a couple of hours to do this mod, and I do apologise that I haven't basically stepped through soldering every wire as I normally would, but like I say, I like to confirm that these mods work before I show you, and because I've only got the one of these, it's yeah, kind of difficult. I didn't really want to undo it and redo it all again. But if you get stuck and you do want some help, as always, I'm available. Just basically send me a message or an email or whatever you like. But if you're, to be honest, if you've done a few of the mods that I've shown you already, then you'll definitely be ready to do this mod. And as you can see, it's quite worthwhile. You don't need to have all the different Super Nintendos plugged in. You can just have the one and it'll do everything. So thanks very much for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it, and yeah, we'll see you again soon.